day, everyone. So for today's video, we're going to discuss something about exponential functions. But before we discuss that, let us define first ano ba si exponential function. So an exponential function is a function with a base b, or an exponential function with a base b is a function of the form f of x equals b raised to x or y equals b raised to x, where b is greater than 0 and b should not be equal to 1. Okay? From our previous videos, we have defined exponential expressions as expressions to which ang kanya pong exponent ay may variable. Okay po? Kasi hindi po natin pwedeng i-consider na lahat ng expression na may exponent ay exponential expression. Ngayon, pagdating kay exponential function, it is a function to which an exponential expression is concerned, kung saan yung base natin ay b at yung ating x ay yung ating exponent. Kung saan ang b daw ay greater than 0, so it should not be negative, and b should not be equal to 1. So bakit ba bawal maging equal sa 1 si b? Bawal maging equal sa 1 si b dahil for any values of x na meron ka sa exponential function mo ay 1 pa rin ang lalabas. So for example, if we have f of x equals 1 raised to x. So bakit ba bawal maging 1 yung b natin or yung base natin? In such a way na tulad ng sabi ko kanina, na kahit anong maging value ng x mo, 1 pa rin ang lalabas. Let's say for example, ang value ng x natin ay 3. So if that would be 1 raised to 3. And 1 raised to 3 is still 1. Okay? Kahit gawin natin na 1 raised to 4. Still, 1 pa rin ang lalabas. It's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. It's still 1. So, it's just a constant. Okay? Or it is just a line kapag ginraph natin yun. That is why b should not be equal to 1. Okay po? So now, let us have example para mas maging clear sa atin ano ba yung itsura ng exponential function. Okay? Suppose we have the function f of x equals 2 raised to x. So, tulad ng lahat ng functions na pinag-aralan natin, igagraph po natin si exponential function for us to what? For us to determine the different properties na present din sa ating function. And in graphing that, we must what? We must, of course, first construct our own table of values. So, in doing the table of values, so say for example, we have down here x and then we have y. Or in some books, this is f of x. So, pwede din naman po. Or tinatawag natin na function value. Okay po? So, in making the table of values, we have to assume different values of x para makita natin kung ano ba yung function value niya for a certain value of x. So, it is up to us kung ano ang pwede nating gawing values ni x. Let's say, for example, from 0 to 5, from negative 4 to positive 4. So, it is up to us. But it would be what? It would be advisable at makikita din talaga natin yung property ng ating function kung kukuha tayo ng values from the negative sign of the x-axis at saka positive side ng ating x-axis. That is why, let's say for example, we are to start with negative 4 and ends with positive 4. So we have here negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, and then hanggang kay 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for us to get the function value or the f of x or the y, what we're going to do is just to what? To substitute all these values one at a time to our function. So, isa-substitute po natin yan one at a time. But, it would be too long or it would take so much time kapag inisa-isa po natin siyang isa-substitute. Okay? And, meron naman tayong technology to use, why not use it? Okay? So, let us use our calculator. Okay? So, if you have a scientific calculator, and kapag pinrest natin si mode, may makikita kayo na table dun sa ating options, then you can use this method. So, just press 7 kasi 7 yung table. At ang lalabas dyan is the f of x. So, kapag lumabas yung f of x, what we're going to do is just to plug in our function. So we have f of x equals 2 raised to x. So yung x natin is alpha close parenthesis. That is our variable x. And then we have to press equals. Then magsasabi dyan g of x. Since we are just dealing with one function, then skip lang natin to by pressing equals. And then tatanungin niya kayo start. So, kung saang value ba gusto nyo magsimula yung x ninyo. So, dun sa table of values natin, kung mapapansin nyo dito, nagsimula tayo kay negative 4. So, yung pinakamaliit, yun yung start. So, we'll start with negative 4. And then, we have to press equals. And then, end, ibig sabihin, saan tayo magtatapos? So, dito sa table of values natin, magtatapos tayo kay positive 4. That is why we have to put down here 4. So, press equals. And then, step, ibig sabihin yung interval ng bawat values mo. So, ano bang interval ng bawat values na ito? And that is 1. So, we just have to press 1 and then press equals. And then, lalabas na po dyan yung ating mismong table of values to where if our value of x is negative 4, the function value is 0.0625. And then, if the function value is negative 3, then our function value is 0.125. If the function value is negative 2, that's 0.25. And so on and so forth. Hanggang makarating kayo dun sa end ng inyong table of values. Okay po? And para mas makita po natin yung property niya, what we're going to do is to graph it. Okay? So you may use any graphing material or graphing application para mas madalian kayo. Okay, so we'll start with the first function, the first pair, or the first set of ordered pair, that is negative 4, and then comma 0.0625. And if we're going to graph that, so nandito po yung ating point, that's point A. And then yung susunod is this one, so that would be point B, so nandito po. And then we have point C, so idadare-diretso ko na siya para hindi na po tayo magtagal. And then the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, and the ninth value. Okay? So, may mapapansin kayo dyan. If we're going to connect these values or these points, makaka-form tayo ng ganito. Okay po? So, medyo familiar siya kung inyong titignan. Medyo familiar siya or medyo kahawig niya yung kabaak ng ating graph ng ating rational function kung inyo pong mapapansin. Okay po? To which, yes, what you are thinking is right, that one of the properties of an exponential function is that meron asymptotic din po siya sa isang line. Okay? So let us now have the different properties of our exponential function. Okay? Number one property is that the domain is the set of real numbers. Okay? Kung titignan natin yung ating graph, and if we're going to extend the graph on both sides, okay, so kapag sinabi nating domain, ito yung posibleng maging value ni x or yung mga gusto nating maging value ni x. So kung makikita natin yung graph, ayan, pwede siya kahit infinitely many doon sa left side. And then kay right side naman, kapag ginawa natin ganito or in-extend natin yan doon, still, makakarating pa rin siya hanggang sa pinakadulo or to positive infinity. That is why all domains of all exponential functions is a set of real numbers. Okay, so that is true to all exponential function. Okay? And in this case, kung mapapansin niyo, tulad ng sinabi ko, it is asymptotic to a certain line. It gets closer and closer to a line, but it will never touches the line. In such a way that hindi po siya pwedeng mag-touch kay 0, kung inyo pong mapapansin. Okay? Kung inyo pong mapapansin, hindi po siya nagta-touch kay 0. And kung mapapansin din po natin, yung function value natin or yung y natin ay hindi what? Hindi siya lumalagpas dito sa negative sign ng y-axis. In that case, we can conclude that the range is the set from 0 to positive infinity. Okay? So, from 0 excluded ito ha. So, from 0 excluded to positive infinity. Asymptotic siya to our x-axis, kaya hindi siya nagko-cross doon. At kaya hindi na rin nagiging negative yung value ng ating y. Okay po, so that is the reason why the range of this certain exponential function is a set from 0 excluded to positive infinity. But the range varies if we have modification sa ating exponential function. So we will see mamaya. Okay, but in this case, the range is a set from 0 excluded to positive infinity. Let us have another one. It is also a one-to-one function. And paano natin nasabi that this is one-to-one function? If we're going to draw a line or a vertical line anywhere on the graph, it only intersects the graph at exactly one point, meaning that is a function or the graph represents a function. And if we're going to draw a horizontal line, kahit po dito natin siya drawingan dito sa almost a straight line, pero hindi siya actually straight line. Kapag nag-drawing tayo dito ng horizontal line anywhere on the graph, and the horizontal line will intersect the graph at exactly one point, that is why it is considered to be a one-to-one function. Okay po? So that is another property of exponential function, that all exponential functions are one-to-one function. Now, the horizontal asymptote is the line y equals 0 or the x-axis. Okay? So, tulad dun kay rational function na diniscuss natin, yung horizontal asymptote or yung range natin, nagva-vary or nagre-rely siya kay horizontal asymptote, at yung vertical asymptote natin ay binibigyan naman tayo ng idea what our domain is. Okay? Kaya, kung mapapansin niyo, the horizontal asymptote is the line y equals 0. Kaya ang range natin is from 0 to positive infinity. Okay? And there is no vertical asymptote, meaning wala tayong boundaries vertically. That is why our domain are the set of real numbers. Okay po? And lastly, the y-intercept is 1. So, nag-intersect po siya dito kay y-axis at exactly 1. Okay? That is why the y-intercept is 1. So, paano po natin nakukuha yung y-intercept? So, nakukuha natin yung y-intercept if we get the function value at 0, or we just get f of 0. Okay? And then, there is no x-intercept. So, in this case, wala pong x-intercept or hindi siya magkakross kay x-axis dahil nga dun siya asymptotic. Pero, si x-intercept will vary pa rin as we have modification sa ating graph or sa ating mismong function. But, in determining the x-intercept of an exponential function, it requires rigorous computation or it requires an application of logarithm para mahanap natin yung x-intercept. That is why we're not gonna be discussing how to get the x-intercept of exponential function. Just the y-intercept. Okay po? So those are the properties of the exponential functions that we have a while ago. So f of x equals 2 raised to x. So let us have now another example. Suppose we have this one. F of x equals 1/2 raised to x. So our base here now is 1/2 and the exponent is x. So in doing so, gagawin pa rin natin yung ating ginawa kanina, and the first thing to do is for us to make a table of values so that we can graph the function. Okay, so in graphing the function, we need our calculator para tulungan tayo to make our table of values. So we have here 1/2 raised to, so that is raised to, 1/2 raised to x. Okay? Alright, and then, skip lang natin si g of x. So, ganun pa rin tayo. Mag-start pa rin tayo kay -4. Mag-end ulit tayo kay +4, and ang ating interval or step would be 1. So, in this case, if the value of x is -4, our function value is 16. So, kung inyo pong kukumputin, that is f of x equals 1/2 raised to what? Raised to -4. So, ito po ay negative exponent. para ma-solve natin na mawala yung negative exponent, ang gagawin natin is to reciprocate our base. And that would be 2, and the exponent would become positive. That is why 2 raised to 4, and that would be 16. So 2 raised to 4 meaning we have to multiply 2 4 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and then times 2 is 16. That is why if the value of x is negative 4, then our function value is 16, and so on and so forth up until we got the last value. Okay po? And to graph that, okay, so let us just erase this one. To graph the function, so iisa-isahin po natin yung point. So this would be the first point. Okay, so this would be the first point, and then our second point would be here. So yan po, bumaba, and then yung third bumaba din, and then pababa naman po siya ng pababa. Okay po? And if we're going to connect that, then we would have this graph. And if you would notice, parang kabaliktaran lang siya nung kanina natin. Okay po? So, ayan, ito po yung kanina natin, which is f of x equals 2 raised to x. At yung bago naman po natin is ito, meaning our domain is still, so our domain would be what? Our domain would still be all sets of x such that x is an element of real numbers. And then our range, if you would notice, hindi po siya nag-cross kay x-axis. So, hindi po siya bumaba sa negative value, or yes, hindi po siya bumaba sa negative value kay y-axis. That is why our range should be what? Our range should be all sets of y such that y is what? Such that y is greater than 0. And then, our horizontal asymptote is still what? Horizontal asymptote is still be our x-axis, or at y equals 0. And then, there would be no vertical asymptote, and our y-intercept, so para makuha natin yung y-intercept natin, we're just going to make what? We're just going to determine or evaluate the function at 0. So we have f of 0 equals 1/2 raised to x. And ang gagawin natin, lahat ng x gagawin natin 0. So we have 1/2 raised to 0. And that would be what? That would be, so any number or any base raised to 0, that is equivalent to 1. Ibig sabihin ng ating y-intercept would also be 1. So kung mapapansin nyo dito sa ating graph. So that's how we graph our exponential function. Okay? But what if we make modifications sa ating function? Suppose we have this one. Ang ginawa natin dito is nag-add tayo ng certain value sa ating exponent mismo. So that would be f of x equals 2 raised to x plus 2. So ano pong mangyayari sa graph niya? Okay? So kung magkakaroon tayo ng ganito, with the help of our calculator, so that would be f of x equals to 2 raised to x plus 2. And then, sige, mag-start ulit tayo kay negative 4 and with positive 4 and step is 1. So, kapag i-graph po natin yung ating value, so kung mapapansin nyo po, ito po yung ating values ha. Okay? So, using our graphing tool, so I am using GeoGebra. You may install it actually to your laptop or even to your smartphones para mas madali kayo mag-graph. So, this is our original function. Si f of x equals 2 raised to x. Pero pag dinarap natin yung f of x equals to 2 raised to x plus 2, so ito po yung ating orange na graph. So ang nangyari po is na-move po yung ating original graph sa kaliwa. Okay? So kung papansinin niyo po itong ating y-intercept kanina, nag-move siya ng 2 units. Okay? 2 units to our left. Okay? So, to the 2 units to the left of the original function. Okay? So, just draw conclusions from it. So, let us have another modification. What if we now did subtract a certain value to our exponent? Okay, suppose we have f of x equals 2 raised to x minus 3. Okay, so ano pong mangyayari po dito? Using our calculator, okay, so we have f of x equals to 2. That would be 2 raised to x plus or x minus 3. So, same pa rin po. This would be our table of values for our function. And if we're going to graph that using our graphing tool, so ito po siya. So, ano naman po ang napansin natin dito sa blue line? So, kung mapapansin po ninyo, nag-move naman po siya to the right of our original function. So, kung papansinin po natin, okay, kung papansinin po natin itong y-intercept natin sa original equation, sa original function natin, nag-move naman siya ng 3 units to the right of the original function. Hence, we can draw conclusion that if we add something, alright, if we add something, or if we add a certain value, if we add a certain value to the exponent, ang nangyayari is we are actually moving the graph. We are moving the graph what? We are moving the graph to the left. Okay? So, ilang units to the left? So, kung ilan yung inad mo. Pero, if we subtracted certain value to our exponent, then ang nangyayari po is we are actually what? We are actually moving the graph to the right. Okay, so wag pong malilito. Kapag ginalaw po natin yung exponent ng exponential function, pag nag-add tayo, we are moving the function to the left. And kapag nag-subtract tayo, we are actually moving the graph to the right. Okay? And the properties are just the same. Okay? Still, our domain is a set of real numbers. Still, our range should be from 0 to positive infinity. Kung mapapansin po ninyo dito sa ating graph. And then uh, our horizontal asymptote would still be at y equals 0 or the x-axis, and there would still be no vertical asymptote. But ang mangyayari na lang po is or ang maiiba na lang would be our y-intercept. So saan ba nag-cross sa y-axis itong first natin? So yung first natin which is f of x equals, so yung una natin kanina is f of x equals to 2 raised to x plus 2. So, saan po siya nag-intersect kay y-axis? Dito po kung mapapansin ninyo kay 4. So, paano natin nakuha si 4? We just evaluated f of 0. So, that would be f of 0 equals to 2 raised to 0 plus 2. That would be 2 raised to, so simplify natin ito. This would be 2 and 2 raised to 2 would be 4. That is why our y-intercept is 4. Okay? At ganun din po dito sa ating function kanina, which is yung blue naman na function. So, kung makikita ninyo, it is not that clear kung ano po yung certain value. So, we are to compute that. That would be f of x equals to 2 raised to x minus 3. Okay? And then, what we're going to do is to evaluate it at f equals 0, or f of 0 equals to 2 raised to 0 minus 3. So, that would be 2 raised to negative 3. And para, dahil negative exponent yan, we have to make it 1 over 2 raised to 3. And if we're going to have this, would be having 1 over, so 1 cube is 1, and 2 cube would be 8. So, that would be 1 over 8. So, yun po yung ating magiging y-intercept. Okay po? And the x-intercept, tulad ng sinabi kanina, is not that necessary to get because it takes time, okay, for us to get our x-intercept. So that is the modifications we made to our exponent. But what if ganito po ang nangyari sa ating function? Suppose we have this one. F of x equals 2 raised to x plus 3. So, nag-add naman tayo sa mismong function. So, sa buong function po tayo nag-add ng plus 3. So, getting our calculator and making our table of value. So, that would be 2 raised to or 2 raised to x and then plus 3. And then, our star would be still negative 4 and this 4, step is 1. So, ito po yung ating magiging table of values, kung mapapansin ninyo. Okay? And, having our graph, so, ito po yung original graph natin, which is 2 raised to x. So, yan po yung original graph natin. And then, ang nangyari is nag-add tayo ng 3 sa ating function. So, ito po yung red na graph. So, ano pong nangyari? So, tignan po ulit natin itong ating y-intercept kanina. Nag-move naman po siya ng 1, 2, 3 units upward. Okay? So, 3 units upward po yung kanyang minove. So, ibig sabihin, if we are adding certain value to the whole function, then we are actually moving the graph upward. Okay? And let us now see or let us now have our properties of the function. So if we have the properties of the function, still our domain, dahil hindi naman po yan mababago yung domain natin, tulad ng sinabi ko, the domain for all exponential functions would be set of real numbers. Ang mababago lang po dito would be what? That would be the range. And the range, the horizontal asymptote, and so with the y-intercept. Okay po? So, the range, kung mapapansin ninyo, saan ngayon siya asymptotic? So, kung i-graph natin si y equals 3, ito po si y equals 3. Ito po. Okay? Yung black na line. So, sa kanya po siya asymptotic. So, ibig sabihin, kung ano po yung inad natin dun sa function natin, this is actually our horizontal asymptote. So, yung horizontal asymptote natin would be at y equals d. Or yung d natin na tinatawag, yung value na ina-add or sinusubtract natin dun sa buong function natin. Okay? Since d would be 3, then our horizontal asymptote would be at y equals 3. So, kung mapapansin naman po natin sa ating graph. And, so, if our horizontal asymptote is at y equals 3, then our range would be at what? Okay? So, our range should be at, or our range should be all sets of y such that y is greater than 3. So, nabago lang po yung ating range. And so, with our y-intercept. So, pagkuha ng y-intercept, we just what? We just get the function value at 0. So, if we have f of x equals to 2 raised to x plus 3, then we get f of 0. That is 2 raised to 0 plus 3. And any number raised to 0 is 1. So, we have 1 plus 3. And that would be positive 4. So, that would be our y-intercept na makikita naman natin sa ating function. Okay po? Or sa ating graph. And our last modification, what if we have subtracted a number to the whole function? Then, using our calculator, we would have 2 raised to, that would be 2 raised to x minus 4. So, we will have this table of values. And then, if we're going to graph that using our graphing tool, if this is our original exponential function, si 2 raised to x, then 2 raised to x minus 4, ang nangyari naman sa kanya ay what? Bumaba naman siya. So, tignan natin yung y-intercept natin sa original. Bumaba siya ng 1, 2, 3, 4 units sa ating original graph. Okay po? So, ganun po ang mangyayari kapag nag-subtract naman tayo to the whole function then we are moving or we are transforming or we are shifting the graph for the units downward. Okay po? Hence, our domain would still be all sets of real numbers, but the range would now be what? The range would now be, so kung mapapansin niyo saan naman asymptotic yung ating graph? That is actually at y equals negative 4. Okay, so ito pong black na line na to, dito po asymptotic ngayon yung ating graph. Hence, our horizontal asymptote is at y equals negative 4. So, kung ano po yung ginalaw natin sa function. And then, our range should be all sets of y such that y is what? Such that y is greater than negative 4. And so, our y-intercept would be at the function value at 0, to which that would be equivalent to negative 3. Okay po? And our x-intercept, nagkataon lang po that our x-intercept here is positive 2. So, kita naman po natin sa ating graph. Okay po? So, that would be the different properties of our exponential functions.